Hi everyone, I'm Cassie and I decided to do another digital painting today. So I really wanted to do a drawing of Yang from RWBY. If you haven't seen the third season, you probably shouldn't watch this video, it's a bit of a spoiler. But I really wanted to do this really great battle pose of her after everything that happened in RWBY Season 3. So I started out with just kind of a rough idea of the pose that I wanted her to be in, but kind of no idea how I wanted to do the background or anything like that. And so I just did a rough sketch and then went over everything with a basic color block. And I had reference pictures, so many reference pictures. I used references for everything in this drawing. The only thing that I didn't use references for really was the pose itself. But the colors and everything I used references for. So I went through and I did color blocking, and then I followed it up with some basic shading, and I brought in some pinks and, you know, just kept kind of adding in shades. I think I really wanted to do a picture that showed that, okay, last chance to get out if you haven't seen RWBY Season 3. But I really wanted to do a picture that showed that even after everything that she went through and how horrible it was, she would still, you know, kind of rise from the ashes, Phoenix style, and be perfectly fine. Because everyone knows Yang, she's such a strong character. She's not the type of person to just kind of bow down to circumstance. So I felt like she's definitely gonna rise back up and be even stronger than she was before. And so that's why I gave her the robot arm, which I'm pretty sure that everyone is expecting to happen. We're all just kind of waiting to see what it looks like. I kind of went back and forth about how I wanted to do her gun now that she had this robotic arm. So at first I was like, well, I could do something that kind of folds in, you know, something, because now there's not like an arm under there, so she could have the gun be like inside her arm and then it pops out. But I kind of thought that doesn't really match Yang in terms of her fighting style and what she's used to. Her guns they're sharp and pointy, and they're more than just guns, just like every weapon in RWBY, but they're there to deal damage when she punches too. So I kept the regular gun in all of its bright yellow glory. So I went through and did her face. I went over her face like 6 times. I kept changing it. I mean, I don't know if you saw, I used warp earlier, and warp is so helpful if you just if you go through with the selection tool and you just select the part that you want to change, you can warp just that one little part and make it look really exactly how you had it in your head. So I did that, and it turned out so much better. And kept messing around with her nose too, and her lips. I couldn't decide on a color for her lips because Yang doesn't really wear makeup, I don't think. So her lips have this kind of just natural color to them. And yeah, did the basic cleaning up and everything. I'm slowly getting more and more used to using the tablet and doing the digital art versus traditional. It's so much more convenient when you go through and you do detail work, especially things like her hair. Like, I could just select the one part that I wanted to do, and then I could do the strokes on just that one little section without worrying that it was going to ruin the rest of her hair or like the rest of her outfit. So that was really nice and really helpful. I realized about halfway through that her boobs were too low. They were too low and they weren't quite right, so I fixed that. And I also, here's where I added in the gun. It was weird, I went through and I added all these details to her arm, and then I realized that it was just going to be covered up by the gun anyways, so I went back and added in the gun. And I made it super bright yellow at first, just to, you know, stay true, I guess. I couldn't figure out where the actual barrel of the gun was, so that took a minute. Of course, I flipped back and forth over and over again. It is her right arm. It's just, I kept flipping it to make sure that everything looked proportional. I added all these little details to the metal to make sure that it really popped. And then, see, this is what I'm talking about. I could just like select the section and go through and add the highlights without ruining the lines. That was so convenient. And then the same thing with the shading. I just went through and I selected exactly where I wanted to put the shading, and so nice. I did realize that the arms, they looked really weird at first, so I updated them just like the boobs. I spent so much time on her chest. A ridiculous amount of time just making them look right, even just getting the shape right. But yeah, I switched back and forth between Photoshop and Paint Tool Sai this time because it was just, it's so nice to use Paint Tool Sai to do shading because it's very it has a really great airbrush feature that I really like. And they also have the stabilizer in Paint Tool Sai. So when I was doing line art, see, I changed them again. When I was doing line art, I kept using the stabilizer, and that was really helpful. But yeah, oh god, I just cannot figure out how much skin she should be showing. Anyways, so I went through and I redid the arms, which they desperately needed because they looked really weird before. And I made it a lot darker, which I think went a lot better with the color palette. The original lighter color was just not very good with this palette, and it kind of like blended with her hair and her skin, and it didn't really stand out. So I went through and changed that, and then I messed with her boobs again. Seriously, I think probably half of this video is going to be me messing with her chest and making sure it looks right. Adding details to the arm. I couldn't decide if I wanted to keep the neon yellow because it's cool as it looks. It's kind of like cartoony looking because everything else is so realistic. So having this one cartoony piece kind of looked weird. And I got halfway through all of this and had done most of the shading and everything and realized that I hadn't put the pattern that's on her shirt on the right side. It's supposed to be on the left, not the right, but because I had it flipped, the picture flipped, my reference pictures also flipped, so I was like, oh, I guess this is right. So I used a pattern. I actually took the picture myself of just like a scarf that I crocheted a long time ago and used that pattern for the scarf. And I think that worked out really well. It added like a really nice depth to the scarf that it didn't have before. I'm not actually sure if her scarf is made of cloth or not, but fixing boobs some more. I believe her breasts, they deserve the justice that they got. I got through this cuff link thing and realized that the buttons, they're on the outside of her arm, like where her elbow would be. So you can't really see them from the angle that she's at in this pose because you only see the front, the inside of her elbow. You don't see the outside. So I went through and fixed that. And I think this whole picture was me like making little mistakes and then going back and being like, oh, I should fix that. Oh, I should fix that too. And that's fine. Hopefully as time goes on, I'll get a lot faster and it won't take the whole week to do one picture like this. I went through and I used a few different brushes for her hair because I wanted to give it a lot of texture. And I mean, she has blonde hair, but it's also, you know, it's got yellows and oranges. It's not just like one shade. So I wanted to make sure it had all the texture it needed. Yeah, and then I kept messing with her lips, her poor lips. I jump around a lot. Ooh. The background. I did this whole background that I didn't use. You'll see, because I'll completely redo it. It's completely useless. That's alright. It was fun to do. It was good practice. Kind of how I feel about everything with this is, even if it's not great and I have to redo it, it doesn't really matter because it's good practice. So after that, I went through and added more depth to her hair, which I kept coming back to. Every few minutes I would look at her hair and be like, I should add some more strands, and she should have like free strands flying around. Oh my god, I messed with so many different brushes in the background. I don't know what I was thinking. Oh, and then finally I decided they're gonna be grim in this picture, but I'm not really sure where. So I just kind of drew them out really roughly. And I used this cool brush that it's like a square and it rotates as you go, because Grimm have this really rough looking texture. And so I wanted to retain that rough texture. So I used this square brush to go through and draw them all. So I had like the big standing guy and then the flying Grimm and with their bones sticking out. And then I had the bear looking Grimm who has this cute little fluffy tail. He would not be cute in real life, he would be terrifying, but he looks pretty cute. In shapes, he looks cute. So I wanted to have this thing where like the pieces of the Grimm that she had recently killed were kind of flying in front of her. So you'll see me keep kind of adding more to that so that she has like Grimm flying all around her and whatnot. Yep, so here's another pretty background that I made and didn't use. This is the thing, you know, you just keep making things and checking them and seeing if you like them, and if you do, you use them, and if not, then you don't. And it's not really a big deal. I messed with the curves a lot in this picture. I messed with curves and contrast and brightness, and I kept changing things. And see, here's the background that I actually used. It's the simplest of all the backgrounds that I made. I don't know why it took me so long. See, I really like this. I changed the curves on the gun, and somehow it went from being like really cartoony to blending in really well and looking really great with the picture. I am so glad that I discovered curves. Anyways, so this is how it ended up looking. I think it turned out pretty good. I was really proud of the gun. It looks really cool. And I added some purples and blues to her hair, which I think helped. So as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!